Today was the pack's sacrifice until the alpha fell to his knees. A dark romance story. Hey, before we dive into a world of shadows, claw marks, and a love fierce enough to tear down thrones, I need you to do something for me. This story, it's going to grip you by the throat and not let go. You're going to feel every heartbeat, every snarl, every tear. And when you're done with a part, you're going to be desperate for the next. So if you want to follow Nira and Riker on this devastating journey, I'll hit that subscribe button right now. Smash that like so I know you're ready for the darkness, and share this with a friend who needs a story that will make them believe in the impossible. Trust me, you won't want to experience this alone. Now let's begin. The weight of blood. The scent of my own fear was the most nauseating thing I had ever smelled. It clung to my skin, bitter and metallic, mixing with the sweet perfume of night-blooming jasmine that bordered the sacred grove, or a smell of weakness. And in the Silver Moon Pack, weakness was a sin punishable by death, or worse, punishable by this. I was Nira. In a few short minutes, I would be dead. The moonlight felt cold and accusatory as it filtered through ancient oak trees, painting the clearing in shades of ghostly silver and abyssal black. The elders stood in a semicircle, their faces carved from stone. They weren't looking at me with pity. They were looking at me with the cold calculation of butchers assessing a lamb. My father, the Pax Beta, stood apart from them. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle twitching in his temple. He wouldn't meet my eyes. My mother was a ghost beside him, her hand clamped over her mouth to stifle sobs. Powerful wolves, both of them. But in this, they were powerless. The law was the law. The pack was everything. The individual was nothing. I was the unfortunate individual who had to pay the price. Nira of the Silver Moon Pack. Elder Margot's voice rasped like dry leaves skittering over stone. You stand accused of a crime against the natural order, a crime against the moon goddess herself. I knew the accusation. I'd heard it whispered behind my back my entire life. I was 22 years old, and I had never shifted. My wolf was silent, a void where a raging, beautiful beast should have been. In a world where your worth was measured by the strength of your wolf, I was less than nothing. A defect, a broken vessel. For 2 decades past your first blood, your wolf has slumbered, Elder Margot continued. You are a drain on our resources, a symbol of the goddess's displeasure. You weaken the pack's spiritual standing. A load of superstitious nonsense designed to control the masses. But fear was a powerful tool. A bad harvest. Blame the wolfless girl. A border dispute lost. The moon goddess is punishing us for harbouring the defective one. I had been the pack's scapegoat for as long as I could remember. Tonight the scapegoating ended. However, another elder, a weaselly man named Theron, spoke up, greed glittering in his eyes. The goddess has shown us a path to redemption, a way to cleanse this stain from our pack and secure our future. He gestured. 2 wolves stepped forward from the shadows, dragging a third between them. A rogue, a wolf from no pack. He captured on our lands, thin, dirty, his eyes holding the wild, desperate look of a cornered animal. Not a threat, a pawn. By the ancient laws of the Blood Concord, Elder Margot declared, her voice rising with theatrical gravity, a life for a life, a sacrifice for a sacrifice. You, Nera, are our gift. You will be bound to this rogue. You will be his mate. The word hit me like a physical blow. Mate, the most sacred bond in our world. A gift from the goddess. A soul-deep connection promising love, loyalty and power. A union to be celebrated, cherished. Not a punishment, not a transaction. He is wild, untamed, Theron said, a cruel smile playing on his lips. He has no pack, no loyalty, no honour. Perhaps your unique nature will soothe him. Or perhaps his savagery will finally awaken the beast inside you. Either way, the pack is rid of its burden. They were sentencing me to a life bound to a feral stranger. My fate was to be chained, body and soul, to a man who would likely hate me for being the chain. My parents' silence was a roar in my ears. Tears I had been fighting for hours finally spilled over. Hot, angry tears, searing trails down my icy cheeks. Not crying for myself anymore, crying for the injustice, for a lifetime of silent suffering culminating in this ultimate betrayal. "So be it," I whispered. "Do what you will." The rogue was shoved forward. Up close, he was younger than I'd thought. His face sharp-angled even beneath the grime. He looked at me, and I saw not hate, but a profound, soul-deep exhaustion. As much a victim of this farce as I was. The binding ritual began. The elders chanted in the old tongue. Elder Margot produced a ceremonial dagger, its blade obsidian and razor-sharp. She took my hand first, pressing the cold edge against my palm. With a quick, practiced slice, she opened a line of fire across my flesh. I gasped, and then she took the rogue's hand and did the same. He didn't flinch. "Blood of the pack, blood of the wild," Margot intoned. "Let the bond be sealed. Let their souls be intertwined, their fates entwined. As the moon goddess witnesses, so let it be." My blood dripped onto the mossy ground. His blood fell beside it. The two small pools quivered for a moment, separate, distinct, and then, impossibly, they began to move. They flowed towards each other, a slow, deliberate crawl across the damp earth, until they met and merged into a single, larger stain. A gasp rippled through the watching wolves. Even the elders leaned forward, and then I felt it. It started as a flicker in the very centre of my chest, a tiny spark of warmth in a place that had been cold and empty my entire life, a single ember glowing in a vast dark hearth. It was him, his life force, his soul touching mine. My head snapped up. For the first time I looked the rogue, my mate, directly in the eyes. His exhaustion was gone, replaced by stunned, raw shock. He felt it too. This impossible, sacred, profane connection between two people who were nothing but pawns. Then the ground began to tremble. A low rumble at first, quickly escalating into violent shaking that sent the elders stumbling. Ancient oak trees groaned. From the forest line, a tree twice the girth of a man came crashing down, missing the elders by mere feet. Everyone froze. Every wolf in that grove felt it. A new presence. A power so immense, so ancient. It made our own wolves want to cower and whimper. It pressed down on us, a physical weight that made breathing a labour. The wolves at the edge of the clearing parted, forced aside by an invisible hand, and from the darkness a figure emerged. Tall, impossibly tall, broad-shouldered with a physique that spoke of brutal, effortless power. He wore simple black, but on him, It looked like royal attire. Hair the colour of a raven's wing, falling in dark waves to his shoulders. But it was his eyes that seized me and held me captive. Molten gold, glowing with an internal fire that seemed to see right through flesh and bone, down to the very core of my soul. He walked with a predator's grace. He ignored the elders as if they were insects. His gaze was fixed on two things: the merged puddle of blood on the ground and me. He stopped a few feet away. The scent of him finally reached me. Midnight forests, ancient leather, and the clean, sharp scent of a winter storm. Intoxicating and terrifying. Elder Margot found her voice, though it was a pitiful squeak. "Your Majesty, King Riker! We were not informed of your presence on our lands. We are honoured. King Riker, the Lycan King, the ruler of all our kind, a being of pure legend, a creature of myth who was supposed to be a story told to scare young pups. He was here, in our grove, and he was staring at me. He didn't acknowledge the elder. His molten gold eyes remained locked on mine. He looked my bleeding palm, then at the rogues. His nostrils flared. A low, dangerous growl rumbled in his chest, a sound of pure, undiluted possession. "Explain," he said. His voice was a low rumble, like thunder rolling across a distant mountain range. Quiet, but commanding absolute attention. Theron stumbled forward, eager to please. "Your Majesty, a minor pack matter. A purification ritual. The girl is defective, wolfless. We are binding her to this rogue to—" He didn't finish. The king moved. One moment he was 10 feet away, the next he was in front of Theron. His hand wrapped around the elder's throat, lifting him off the ground. Theron's face purpled, his legs kicking uselessly. "You speak of the bond," the king snarled. "You cheapen it with your filthy, superstitious hands. You dare to perform a binding ritual without the blessing of a true alpha. On my lands?" He threw Theron aside like a piece of trash. Then his gaze swung back to me. The moment his eyes met mine, something shifted. The power in the air seemed to condense, forming a tunnel between him and me. I couldn't look away. I couldn't breathe. He took a step closer, then another. He was right in front of me now, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his body. He reached out, and his rough, warm fingers gently took my injured hand. He lifted it, his eyes never leaving mine, and brought my palm to his lips. On the touch of his mouth on my wound sent a shock-wave through my entire body. The spark in my chest erupted into a bonfire. He inhaled deeply, his eyes fluttering closed for a fraction of a second. When they opened again, they were blazing. He was looking at me as if I was the only thing in the entire world that mattered. Then, in a move that would be etched into the memory of every wolf present for the rest of their lives, the Lycan King, the most powerful being in existence, lowered himself to his knees in the dirt before me. A collective gasp sucked the air from the clearing. He was still holding my hand, his thumbs stroking the cut he had just kissed. He looked up at me, his expression a tumultuous mix of fury, awe, and a raw, devastating vulnerability. "The bond is already formed," he said, his voice hoarse. "It is complete. I can feel it." He pulled me closer, his other hand coming to rest on my hip, his grip firm, possessive. "You were their sacrifice," he breathed. The words meant only for me, a payment for their fear, an offering to a rogue. He shook his head slowly. But they were wrong, so terribly wrong. He leaned in, his forehead almost touching mine. His scent engulfed me. His warmth seeped into my cold bones. You are no sacrifice, little one. You never were. His eyes searched mine. You, he whispered, his voice breaking on the word, are my mate. If this opening grabbed you by the throat and won't let go, hit that subscribe button right now. We're just getting started and you don't want to miss what happens next. Smash that like if you're already rooting for Nira. And share this with a friend who needs a story that will make them believe in the impossible. The Gilded Cage. His words hung in the air, shattering the world I knew and rebuilding it into something terrifying and new. My mate! The Lycan King's mate! Me! The defect! The sacrifice! For a long, breathless moment, no one moved. The king knelt in the dirt before me, waiting. For what? For me to accept? For me to run? My mind was a blank slate of white-hot shock. The only thing that felt real was the warmth of his hands on my skin and that blazing inferno in my chest where the mate bond now lived and breathed. Finally, Elder Margot found her voice. Your Majesty, this is unprecedented. The girl has no wolf. The bond cannot be... The king didn't even look at her. He simply raised one hand. The ancient oak tree behind the elders suddenly groaned and split right down the middle with a deafening crack. The message was clear. Question him again, and you'd be next. His gaze remained fixed on me. Say my name, he commanded, his voice a low, intimate rumble. I licked my lips. Riker! A shudder ran through his powerful frame. A low, satisfied growl vibrated in his chest, or he rose to his feet in one fluid motion, pulling me up with him. He didn't release my hand. He turned to face the cowering pack, his posture radiating absolute authority. Nira is no longer a member of the Silver Moon Pack. She is under my protection, my claim. Any who speak of her, look at her, or even think of her with disrespect will answer to me. His gaze swept over them, landing on my father. A beta who cannot protect his own daughter, you are unworthy of your rank. You will step down. Effective immediately. My father's knees buckled. A part of me, the part starved for his love my entire life, felt a savage satisfaction. Then the king's gaze found the rogue. He walked over to him. You did not ask for this. You were a tool, used by fools. He clasped the young man's shoulder. You will come with us. You will have a place in my court. A second chance. The rogue dropped to one knee. I am called Dax, your Majesty. I am yours to command. And just like that, or our fates were sealed. The journey to the Lycan King's territory took the rest of the night. Riker sat beside me in a sleek black vehicle, a solid, silent presence. The warmth in my chest was a constant, pulsing reminder that this was real. I could feel the edges of his emotions, a simmering rage at what had been done to me, a fierce protectiveness, and underneath it all, a deep, aching loneliness that mirrored my own. His territory was nothing like the dense forests of the Silver Moon Pack. Jagged black mountains clawed at a sky bruised with dawn. We drove through a massive gate carved into the mountainside, into a tunnel that opened into a vast hidden valley. In the centre sat his fortress. Not a palace of light and elegance, a stronghold, a place of power, a gilded cage. The fortress was a hive of activity. Wolves stopped and bowed as Riker passed, their gazes flickering to me with open curiosity and shock. Whispers followed. The king's mate? But she smells human. Where is her wolf? He led me to his rooms, vast, decorated in dark woods and deep, comfortable fabrics. A fire roared in a massive stone hearth. It was luxurious, but it felt like a prison. He stopped in the centre of the main sitting room and turned to face me. The weight of my entire life finally crashed down. My legs gave way. I sank onto a plush ottoman, trembling. He was instantly in front of me, crouching down. "Nearer, look at me!" I forced myself to meet his eyes. The molten gold was softer now, laced with concern. "I know this is too much," he said gently. "I know you are afraid, but I need you to know one thing above all else. You are safe, you are wanted, and you are mine." "Why?" The word burst out of me. "Why me? I have no wolf. I'm weak. I'm nothing. You could have any female in the world. Or why would the moon goddess bind you to a defect?" A flash of anger lit his eyes. "Do not call yourself that ever again." He took a deep breath. "The goddess does not make mistakes. My wolf has been silent for centuries, waiting. The moment I stepped into that grove, the moment I smelled your blood, he recognized you. He roared to life for the first time in 500 years. 500 years. He was ancient, a living legend. Your wolf is not absent," he continued, his voice dropping to an intense whisper. "It is sleeping. It has been waiting. The bond we share is a conduit. My strength is yours. My wolf can speak to yours. And I can feel her, Nira. She is there. She is powerful. And she is terrified." A sob escaped my lips. For my entire life I had felt alone in my own body. And now this man was telling me my wolf was real, that she was just hiding. He pulled me into his arms, and I went willingly. I buried my face in his chest, breathing in his storm and forest scent, and I wept. For the childhood I never had, for the parents who abandoned me, for the girl who was told she was worthless. He held me until the tears ran out. Days turned into a week. Riker was a constant, overwhelming presence. Always there, a shadow at my side, a guardian at my door. Patient, gentle, fiercely protective, but distant. He slept in his own room. He touched me only in ways that were necessary. A guiding hand on my elbow, and a brush of fingers against my cheek. The mate bond hummed with a constant low-level electricity, a promise of something more. But he never tried to claim it. The loneliness I had felt all my life began to morph into something new, a longing, a need, for him. I would catch him staring at me, his golden eyes burning with intensity. But he would always look away, his jaw tight with control. One evening I found him on a balcony overlooking the valley. The wind whipped his dark hair around his face. He looked like a statue of a forgotten god, powerful and alone. "Riker," I said, stepping out to join him. He didn't turn. "You should be resting." "I'm tired of resting." I moved to stand beside him. I'm tired of being treated like I'm made of glass." He finally looked at me, a sad smile playing on his lips. "You're not made of glass. You're the strongest person I know. You survived a lifetime of cruelty and emerged with a gentle heart. Oh, that is not weakness. That is the rarest kind of strength." His words were a balm to my soul. "Then why do you keep me at a distance? I feel you through the bond. I know you want more. I want more too." A tortured look crossed his face. He reached out and cupped my face in his hands, his touch sending a bolt of pure fire straight to my core. "You have no idea how much I want it," he growled. "My lichen blood is not like the others. When I claim my mate, it will not be a gentle thing. My beast will demand to mark you, to bond with you completely, and I am terrified that your human half won't survive it." My heart hammered. What if my wolf is ready? What if she's been waiting for you to call to her? He stared at me, the battle raging in his eyes. He leaned in, his lips a breath away from mine. A sharp knock shattered the moment. He pulled back, a frustrated growl rumbling in his chest. "What?" A guard's voice came through, laced with urgency. "Your Majesty. Oh, forgive the intrusion. A matter at the southern border. A challenge has been issued. It's the Silver Moon Pack. They're demanding the return of their sacrifice. They say you have stolen their property." The air crackled with sudden, deadly tension. Riker's eyes turned to molten steel. "They dare!" he breathed. "They dare to call my mate property." He looked at me, and the man I had come to know was gone. In his place stood the Lichen King, and he was furious. "Stay here," he commanded. "Lock the door. Do not open it for anyone but me." He strode from the balcony, leaving me standing alone in the wind, the phantom heat of his near touch still burning at my lips. The bond between us blazed with his fury, and I felt a new emotion echo down it, sharp and terrifying. The cold, focused intent of a predator about to draw blood. This story is building to something huge. Don't get left behind. Hit that subscribe button so part 3 lands directly in your inbox. Drop a like if you're feeling the tension between Riker and Nira. And share this with someone who loves a slow burn romance with teeth. Blood and ashes. The hours that followed his departure were the longest of my life. The bond was a live wire, humming with static bursts of rage, the sharp tang of violence, and an undercurrent of icy control. I could feel him fighting, not just an external enemy, but the beast within. I paced the floor of his rooms like a caged animal, my skin prickling with phantom sensations, the impact of a blow, the sting of a claw, the hot spray of blood that wasn't mine. I tried to do as he said. I locked the door, I sat by the fire, but the visions the bond sent were too strong, flashes through his eyes, the familiar, hated faces of the Silver Moon elders, my father, stripped of his rank, standing with them, Dax, standing loyally at Riker's side, and the Challenger, a massive, brutish wolf hired by the elders to fight their battle. The fight was a blur of claws and fangs and savage roars. Riker moved with a speed and power almost impossible to follow. He didn't just defeat the Challenger, he dismantled him piece by piece, sending a clear, bloody message to anyone who thought to challenge his claim. When it was over, the bond went quiet. Not empty, but quiet. like the eerie stillness after a terrible storm. I heard the door to the outer chambers open. I rushed out of the bedroom and stopped dead. He stood in the centre of the sitting room, covered in blood. It matted his hair, streaked his face, and soaked his torn clothing. His chest heaved, his golden eyes still wild, glowing with the feral light of his beast. He looked like a monster. He looked like a god. He saw me and froze. A low, guttural sound rumbled from his chest. He took a step towards me, then stopped himself, his hands clenching into fists. "Don't," he rasped. "Don't come near me. I can't control it yet." But I wasn't afraid. Through the bond, beneath the bloodlust, I felt his desperate, overriding need to protect me, to make sure I was safe. The beast wanted to claim me, yes, but more than that, it wanted to shelter me. I took a step towards him. He snarled a warning. "Naira! I'm telling you, my wolf is right at the surface. If I touch you now..." "Then touch me," I whispered. "I'm not afraid of you, Rika." Another step. I'm close enough now to feel the heat rolling off his body. His eyes flared. "When a lichen king claims his mate after a battle, it's not gentle. It's raw. It's possessive. I will want to mark you. I will want to bury myself so deep inside you that you won't know where I end and you begin." My breath hitched. The fire in my core roared into an inferno. "I understand more than you think," I said, closing the final distance. I placed my palm flat against his bloodied chest, right over his heart, for it pounded against his ribs like a trapped animal. "I can feel you, all of you, the king, the man, and the beast, and I want all of them." A shudder racked his entire body. A groan was torn from his lips. He snapped, his arms wrapped around me, crushing me against him. He buried his face in my hair, inhaling deeply. "My mate," he growled against my ear. "My Naira." His lips found my neck, hot and insistent. Not a kiss, a branding. He nipped at the sensitive skin where my shoulder met my neck, and a jolt of pure lightning shot through me. My knees went weak. He caught me, holding me up, his hands roaming my back, my hips pulling me impossibly closer. "I need to get clean," he panted against my skin. "I won't, not like this. Our first time will not be tainted by their filth." He pulled back just enough to look at my face. His eyes still blazed, but the wildness was tempered with fierce tenderness. He took my hand and led me to a smaller door I hadn't noticed before. And it opened into a chamber of dark stone, dominated by a sunken pool of steaming, crystal-clear water, fed by a natural hot spring. He didn't let go of my hand. He turned to face me, vulnerability stark in his eyes. "Stay," he whispered. "A plea." I nodded. He let go of my hand and began to strip off his torn, bloody clothes. Piece by piece, he revealed a body that was a work of brutal art. Scars crisscrossed his powerful muscles, a map of 1,000 battles won. He was beautiful. He was terrifying. Or he was mine. He stepped into the pool, the water rising to his waist. He ducked under, and when he rose back up, pushing his wet hair from his face, he looked more like the man I was falling for, and less like the monster from the battlefield. He held out a hand. "Join me." With trembling fingers, I removed my own clothes, feeling his gaze on me like a physical caress. Not lecherous. Reverent wonder, as if I was the most precious thing he had ever seen. I slipped into the water. Perfect. hot and silky against my skin. He pulled me to him, settling me between his legs, my back against his chest. He reached for a cloth and began to gently wash the blood from my skin. There wasn't any blood on me, but he washed me anyway, his touch reverent. Then he began to wash himself, his movements slow and deliberate. "This is what I fought for," he murmured against my hair. "This peace, this moment with you. Oh, it's worth any amount of blood." We stayed in the pool until the water began to cool. He wrapped me in a robe as soft as a cloud and led me to his bedroom. His bed was massive, a dark wood fortress of furs and pillows. He laid me down and climbed in beside me, pulling me into the curve of his body. "No claiming tonight," he whispered, pressing a kiss to my forehead. "Tonight, I just need to hold you. I need to feel you breathe. I need to know you're real." He held me all night, his big body a shield against the world. For the first time in my life, I slept without dreaming of loneliness. The next few weeks was stolen paradise. Riker was mine, and I was his in every way that mattered except the final physical claiming. We spent our days together. He showed me his kingdom, taught me to ride the massive, shaggy horses in the valley, introduced me to the quieter joys of reading by the fire with his head in my lap, and the bond grew stronger every day. I could feel his moods, sense his presence before he entered a room. I could project my own thoughts and feelings to him, a silent, intimate communication more profound than any words. I was no longer the wolfless girl. I was the king's mate, and with that title came a burgeoning sense of self-worth I had never known. But a shadow lingered.
I'm
Dax
glad you're
was
here.
a constant, quiet
Thanks to
presence in the fortress. He had adapted well, his natural strength and loyalty earning him a place among the lower-ranked warriors. Always respectful to Riker, but I would often catch him watching me. His gaze wasn't threatening, but intense, filled with a sadness and longing that made my heart ache. He had felt the bond too, however briefly. He had tasted what it was like to be connected, and then it had been ripped away. One afternoon I was in the library when he found me. He bowed his head. "My lady." "Dax," I smiled. "How are you settling in?" "Well enough," he hesitated. "I wanted to thank you. Again. If it weren't for you, the king would have left me to die. He only showed me mercy because of you." "I didn't do anything," I said. "He saw the truth in you himself." He shook his head. "He saw it because you were there. You changed the air in that grove. You changed everything." He looked at me, his eyes filled with that familiar, aching sadness. "I know you are his. I would never. I just wanted you to know that a small part of me will always be grateful for those few minutes when our blood mingled. It gave me a glimpse of something I never thought I'd have." Tears pricked at my eyes. He was a good man, a victim just as I had been. I reached out and gently touched his arm. "You are worthy, Dax. Never doubt that." At that precise moment, the temperature in the room plummeted. A wave of icy fury slammed into me through the bond. I spun around. Riker stood in the doorway, his golden eyes fixed on my hand, the one still resting on Dax's arm. His face was a mask of stone, but the air around him crackled with a jealous rage so potent it made my wolf whimper and try to hide. He didn't say a word. He just looked at us, his gaze a brand of accusation. Dax paled and immediately dropped to one knee. "Your Majesty, I was merely thanking the lady for her kindness." Riker's gaze didn't move from me. His voice, when it came, was quiet. Too quiet. "Leave us," he commanded, and Dax scrambled to his feet and fled. The door slammed shut behind him. Riker and I were alone. He took a step into the room, and I took a step back. The man I loved was gone. In his place stood the Lycan King, his beast ascendant, his eyes blazing with a terrifying, possessive fury. "You touched him," he said, his voice a low, deadly growl. The tension is about to explode. You won't want to miss what happens next. Hit subscribe now. I'd drop a like if you're on the edge of your seat, and share this with someone who loves jealousy and possessiveness in their romance. The Beast. Within Riker, it was nothing. He was thanking me. "You touched another male." He stalked towards me and I backed away until my spine hit a bookshelf. He loomed over me, caging me in with his arms. The scent of him was overwhelming, storm clouds and burning ozone. "You let him close to you." You looked at him with soft eyes. "Oh, do you have any idea what that does to me?" His face was inches from mine. His breath was hot on my skin. "You are mine, Naira. Every look, every touch, every breath, they belong to me." He was jealous. Insanely, irrationally jealous. And instead of being afraid, a thrill of power shot through me. He wanted me this much. "I was being kind to a broken man," I whispered, holding his gaze. It was a gesture of pity, nothing more. "My heart beats for you, Riker. Only you. Can't you feel it?" He closed his eyes, a muscle jumping in his jaw. "I can feel everything," he rasped. "And what I felt when I saw you touch him was a rage so deep it threatened to consume me. I wanted to tear him apart." He opened his eyes, raw, naked need in them. "This is what it means to be my mate, Nira. My possessiveness is not a choice. It is the very core of my being." He lowered his head, his lips hovering over mine. "Tell me you're mine," he demanded. "Tell me, or I swear, or I will lose my mind." I reached up and grabbed his face in my hands, pulling him down that final millimeter. "I'm yours," I breathed against his lips. "I've always been yours." He kissed me, not the gentle kiss of a lover, the claiming kiss of a king. Fire and fury and desperate, soul-deep hunger. The kiss was a detonation. His hands were in my hair, tilting my head back, deepening the kiss with a ferocity that stole my breath. I clung to him, matching his intensity. The bond between us became an inferno. I felt everything, the possessive rage melting into desperate need, the centuries of loneliness finally ending. He broke the kiss with a growl, his forehead resting against mine. "Naira," he groaned, "I've tried to be patient. I've tried to give you time, but I can't hold back any more. My wolf won't let me." "I don't want you to hold back," I whispered. "I want all of you, the man and the beast." A shudder racked his frame. He looked into my eyes, and I saw the battle. The man wanted to be gentle, the beast wanted to claim, and I wanted the beast too. He scooped me up and carried me to his bedroom, laying me down on the massive bed. He stood over me for a moment, his chest heaving, his golden eyes burning with supernatural light. A god descending to claim his mortal prize. I need you to understand, he said, his voice a low rumble. When a lycan claims his mate, it is permanent. My bite will leave a mark that will forever tell the world you are mine. There is no going back. Once it's done, you are mine for all eternity. I sat up, reaching for him. I took his hand and pulled him down beside me. Riker, I have been alone my entire life. Unwanted, unloved, treated like dirt. You are the first person who ever made me feel like I mattered. You are my home. I don't want a way back. I only want a way forward. With you. Something broke inside him. The last of his control crumbled to dust. He surged forward, capturing my lips again. Deeper, more primal. A kiss of ownership. His hands were everywhere, tugging at my dress. I helped him, eager to feel his skin against mine. When we were finally bare before each other, he paused, just looking at me. Raw, reverent hunger in his gaze. You are perfect, he breathed. Then he lowered me onto the furs, and his body covered mine. He kissed a trail of fire down my neck, across my collarbone, and when he reached my breasts, I gasped, my back arching. He continued lower, his lips tracing a path down my stomach. He settled between my thighs, and when his mouth found the most sensitive part of me, I cried out. The sensation was electric. He was relentless until I shattered, my body convulsing with release. Before I could catch my breath, he was looming over me again. His eyes blazed, his body taut with barely leashed power. I can't wait any longer, he growled, and I wrapped my legs around his waist. Then don't! He entered me in one slow, powerful thrust. The feeling of him filling me, completing me, was beyond anything I could have imagined. A missing piece of my soul finally slotted into place. I cried out. He stilled for a moment, his jaw clenched, giving my body time to adjust. I could feel him trembling with the effort of control. Move, I whispered, please. And he did. Each thrust sent waves of pleasure cascading through me, and the bond sang with pure emotion. I felt his pleasure as my own. We were no longer two separate people. We were one. As I felt my second release approaching, he lowered his head to my neck. I felt the sharp graze of his canines. Then he bit down. The world exploded, every nerve ending in my body ignited. Pleasure, raw and violent, ripped through me. I screamed, my body arching off the bed as my release crashed over me. At the same moment, I felt him pour himself into me, his own growl of completion vibrating against my neck. For a long moment, we lay tangled together, our hearts hammering a frantic, unified rhythm. The bond was quiet now, but not empty. Complete. Perfect. He slowly released his bite and lifted his head. His eyes were soft, human again, filled with a love so profound it brought tears to my eyes. He gently touched the mark on my neck. Mine, he whispered. Yours, I agreed. The following days were bliss. We were inseparable and lost in our own world. The mark on my neck was a constant source of pride. We made love in the furs by the fire, in the steaming waters of the hot spring, under the stars on the balcony. But the outside world has a way of intruding. It started subtly. A lingering look from a servant. A whispered conversation that stopped when I entered a room. The warriors looked at me with something else now, something that looked a lot like fear. The bond carried faint echoes of Riker's unease. He was worried, But whenever I asked, he would just pull me close and murmur that it was nothing. One night I woke to find the bed empty. I followed the faint pull of the bond to his study. The door was slightly ajar. Voices. "It's spreading, Your Majesty." Kyle, the captain of his guard. "The packs are whispering. They're saying the moon goddess is angry. A wolfless mate for the Lycan king is an abomination, a sign of his weakening." A growl from Riker. "There have been 2 more border skirmishes," Kyle continued. "Packs who were once loyal are demanding an audience. They want proof that she is worthy. If you don't address this, there will be a rebellion." Silence. Heavy with dread, Riker's voice came cold as ice. "They will never see her. She is not a spectacle. I will handle the packs." "You can't handle all of them, my king," Kyle said. "This is a war of belief, and right now they do not believe in her." I stumbled back to the bedroom, my mind reeling. The paradise I had found was built on sand. The world outside saw me not as Riker's salvation, but as his doom. I slipped back into bed just as Riker returned. He slid in beside me, pulling me close, tense, coiled like a spring. "What's wrong?" I whispered. He was silent for a long moment. Then he pressed a kiss to my hair. "Nothing, little one. Go back to sleep. I'll always protect you." But as I lay there in the dark, feeling the tension radiating from his body, I knew his promise was one he might not be able to keep. The wolves were gathering at the gate, and the storm that was coming would make the last one look like a gentle rain. The storm is coming. Don't miss a single moment. Subscribe now, hit that like button, and share this with everyone who needs to feel this story in their bones. The Gathering Storm. The days that followed were a masterclass in deception. Riker smiled, he laughed. He loved me with the same fierce passion, but I could feel the truth through our bond, a constant low-level thrum of anxiety, a king preparing for war. I tried to be strong. I didn't push. I simply loved him, hoping it would be enough. But the fortress was changing. The easy camaraderie among the guards was gone, replaced by grim efficiency. Warriors drilled from dawn until dusk. The air smelled of impending conflict. Dax found me in the gardens one afternoon. He looked older, the softness gone from his eyes, replaced by the hard glint of a soldier. "My lady," he said, bowing, "you shouldn't be out here alone." "I'm fine, Dax." He hesitated, then stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "It's worse than they're telling you. 3 more packs have sworn fealty to the rebellion. They're led by an alpha named Varn. He's ancient, powerful, and he's been nursing a grudge against King Riker for centuries. He's using you as his rallying cry." My heart sank. "Am I using me? How?" "He's telling the packs that the king has been bewitched by a wolfless creature, that the moon goddess has abandoned him. He's promising to free the king from your influence." I felt a flicker through the bond. Riker. He was looking for me, and he was furious. A moment later, he was there, striding into the garden. He pulled me to him, a possessive arm wrapping around my waist. "What are you doing here?" he asked Dax, his voice dangerously soft. "Warning your mate." "Your Majesty," Dax said, holding his ground. "Something you should have done yourself." A muscle jumped in Riker's jaw. I placed a hand on his chest. He was helping me, Riker. He was telling me the truth. Riker's gaze softened as it met mine. The truth is ugly. I didn't want you to have to see it. I'm your mate, I reminded him. I don't just get the good parts. I get all of you and all of this. He pulled me into a fierce embrace. I'm sorry. The thought of losing you makes me insane. You're not going to lose me, but you need to stop shutting me out. Tell me about Varn. He sighed, leading me to a stone bench. Varn is an old enemy. He was a contender for the Lycan throne centuries ago. I defeated him, but I didn't kill him. A mercy he never forgot. He's been building his power in the shadows, waiting for a moment of weakness. He looked down at me. Oh, he thinks you are that weakness. He's wrong. He's not entirely wrong, Riker admitted, because if anything happened to you, it would destroy me, and he knows it. But that night, the first attack came, a probing strike. A group of Varn's wolves tried to scale the outer wall, repelled, but not before 3 guards were killed. I felt the ripple of death through the bond, a cold ache in Riker's soul. He came to me afterwards, his eyes hollow. They died because of me. Because of us. No, I said, taking his face in my hands. They died because of Varn's hate. Don't you dare take that on yourself. The attacks grew more frequent. Every night a new skirmish. Every day more wolves arrived to pledge themselves to Varn's cause. The fortress was under siege, not just by warriors, but by fear and doubt. I could see it in the eyes of the guards, loyal to Riker, but afraid. Afraid that their king's strange, wolfless mate really was a sign of his weakening. The breaking point came a week later. Varn himself appeared at the base of the mountain, leading an army that stretched across the valley floor like a dark stain. He sent a single messenger under a flag of truce. "Surrender the wolfless abomination!" the messenger bellowed. "Let her be tried by the combined alphas for the crime of corrupting the Lycan king. Do this, and Varn promises to spare your people. Refuse, and he will burn this fortress to the ground with everyone inside. That it!" Riker's roar of rage echoed off the mountain walls. He would have torn the messenger apart if Kale and Dax hadn't held him back. "No!" I screamed, rushing to his side. "Riker, don't! That's what he wants!" He turned to me, his eyes wild with fury and anguish. "He will not have you! He will never have you!" But as I looked out at the sea of wolves surrounding us, I knew with chilling certainty that even Riker couldn't fight them all. They were too many, and the rot of doubt had already spread too deep. Some of the wolves in the courtyard were looking at me now with cold calculation. They were wondering if my life was worth theirs. The realization was a knife to my heart. I was no safer here than I had been in that sacred grove. Still a sacrifice, just a more valuable one. I looked at Riker, at the love and terror in his eyes, and I made a decision. A terrible, heartbreaking decision. I couldn't let him die for me. I couldn't let all these people die for me. I had been a burden my entire life. I refused to be the reason for a massacre. I waited until the dead of night. Riker was in the war room. The bond was a maelstrom of his emotions, frustration, love, bone-deep weariness. I went to Dax's quarters. He opened the door, his eyes widening. "My lady, what's wrong?" "You were right," I whispered. I am his weakness. Oh, and I won't be the reason he falls. I told him my plan. He argued, he pleaded, but in the end he saw the resolve in my eyes. Please, I begged, help me get out. Help me give myself up. If I go to Varn, if I let him have his trial, maybe Riker will be safe. Tears streamed down Dax's face. He will never forgive me. He'll never have to know. I lied. Please, Dax, this is the only way. He finally nodded, his face a mask of grief. He knew I was walking to my death, but he also knew it was my choice. He led me through a secret passage, a forgotten route used by servants centuries ago. It wound through the mountain, dark and cold, and finally opened onto a rocky slope on the far side of the fortress. I hugged him quickly, fiercely. Thank you, now go. He hesitated, then vanished back into the darkness. I was alone. The night air was cold on my skin. I could see the campfires of Varn's army in the distance. I took a deep breath and started walking. Each step away from my mate, my love, my life, each step closer to the end. Behind me I felt a jolt through the bond, a spike of pure, undiluted panic. He had felt my absence. He knew I was gone. The bond blazed with his desperate search, his terror, his roar of denial echoing in my very soul. I started to run. I had to get there before he could stop me. I was halfway down the slope when I heard it. A howl. Not a wolf's howl, but something deeper. More primal. A lycan's howl of pure, heartbroken rage. Riker! He had found the passage. He was coming. I ran faster, stumbling over rocks. The campfires were closer now. Sentries saw me. They raised the alarm. I turned back for one last look at the fortress, at the life I was leaving behind. And I saw him. A massive dark shape tearing down the mountainside towards me with impossible speed. In his lichened form, a creature of nightmare and legend, his eyes blazing like golden suns in the darkness. Unstoppable, unthinking, driven by one desperate purpose, to get to me. He was going to reach me before I reached the camp. I stopped running. I couldn't outrun him. He crashed to a halt in front of me, shifting back to his human form in a heartbeat. Naked, his chest heaving, his eyes wild with terror. He grabbed me by the arms. "What have you done?" he roared. "I'm saving you," I sobbed. "I won't let you die for me." He pulled me into his arms, crushing me against him. "Then we die together," he whispered against my hair, his voice broken. "Because there is no me without you." And then the ground began to shake, not from his power, from the thunder of 1,000 paws. Varn's army was moving. They had seen us, caught in the open, the full force of the rebellion bearing down on us. Riker pushed me behind him, his body a shield. He turned to face the oncoming horde, a lone king against an army. I could feel his resignation through the bond, his final, desperate love for me. He knew he couldn't win, but he would die trying. The first wave of wolves was mere yards away when a new sound cut through the night, a howl of summoning from behind us. I turned. Pouring from the fortress gates, streaming down the mountainside, was an army of our own, led by Kale and, incredibly, Dax. Coming for us, coming for their king. Two armies collided on the slope around us with a deafening crash. Chaos, a swirling, screaming maelstrom of violence. Riker fought like a demon, his claws and fangs ripping through any wolf that got too close. I stayed pressed against his back, and then, through the chaos, I saw him, Varn, massive even in human form, his eyes burning with cold, ancient malice. He wasn't fighting the soldiers, he was pushing through them, his gaze fixed on one target, on me. He was coming to claim his prize. And Riker, locked in combat with 3 other wolves, hadn't seen him yet. The final battle is here. You don't want to miss the epic conclusion. Subscribe now, hit that like and share this story before you read the last part. And comment, what do you think is about to happen to Naira? The Howl of the Moon. Time seemed to slow down. Varn moved with a predator's grace, his path of destruction a straight line towards me. I saw him tear a guard apart, throw another aside. His eyes, cold and dead, never left mine. He was savouring this. The moment he would snuff out the Lycan King's weakness. A scream tore from my throat. Riker! He heard me. He felt my terror through the bond. He spun, his eyes widening as he saw Varn bearing down on me. He tried to get to me, but the wolves he was fighting redoubled their efforts, clawing at him, biting him, holding him back. He roared in fury and frustration, a sound of pure anguish. Varn was 10 feet away, 5. He reached for me, his hand closing around my throat. He lifted me off the ground as if I weighed nothing. His grip was like iron, cutting off my air. I clawed at his hand, my vision starting to blur. "Look at me, little abomination," he hissed, his face inches from mine. "Look at the face of the one who will free our king from his weakness." Through the bond, I felt Riker's despair. A black, suffocating wave. He was losing me. The pain of it was so immense it threatened to pull me under. And then something inside me snapped. Not a choice. A reaction. A primal, desperate refusal to let the man I loved suffer. A refusal to let this monster win. In the very core of my being, in that dark, empty space where my wolf had always slept, a single eye opened. It wasn't gradual. It was an explosion, a dam breaking, a lifetime of suppressed power, of denied instinct, of suffocated identity, all rushing to the surface at once. Pain, yes, searing, bone-deep agony as my body reshaped itself, but also release, a homecoming. Varn's eyes widened in shock, his grip on my throat loosened. He stared at me, not with malice, but with disbelief, and then with fear. Because I was changing, my bones cracked, my skin rippled, a power that was not my own, but had always been mine, flooded every cell of my body. Riker's power channeled through our bond, his strength, his Lycan blood, igniting the dormant spark within me. He had been feeding my wolf all along, nurturing her, calling to her. And now, or in my moment of greatest need, she had finally answered. I felt my teeth lengthen into fangs. Claws sprout from my fingertips. A roar ripped from my throat, part human, part wolf, entirely terrifying. I was shifting. After 22 years of silence, I was finally becoming what I was always meant to be. I looked Varn in the eye and I saw my reflection in his widening pupils. No longer the small, fragile girl. A wolf. Sleek, silver-furred, with eyes that burned with the same molten gold fire as my mate. Beautiful, deadly, his equal. I slashed my claws across his face. He screamed and dropped me. I landed on all fours, my new body humming with power. The world was sharper, clearer, more alive than it had ever been. I could smell Varn's fear. I could hear the heartbeat of every wolf on that battlefield. And through the bond, I felt Riker's shock melt into fierce, overwhelming pride and joy. There you are, little one. Oh, I knew you were in there! Varn recovered quickly, his own beast surging to the surface. He shifted into a massive, grizzled black wolf and lunged at me, but I was faster. My new body moved with instinctive grace. I dodged and sank my teeth into his flank. He howled. We fought. A savage, brutal dance. He was stronger, more experienced. But I had something he didn't. I had Riker. Our bond was a constant flow of energy, of strategy, of love. And when Varn would have landed a killing blow, Riker was there, his own massive wolf form appearing at my side. Together we were unstoppable. We fought as one, a perfect unit of fury and devotion. We drove Varn back. The rebel wolves, seeing their leader falter, seeing the wolfless abomination fighting with the power of a true Lycan, lost their nerve. Their attack wavered, then broke. They began to flee. Varn, seeing his army crumble, made one last, desperate lunge. Not at me, at Riker. He aimed for his throat. A suicide attack meant to take the king with him. I saw it coming. I moved without thinking, throwing myself between them. Varn's jaws closed, not on Riker's throat, but on my shoulder. The pain was excruciating, white-hot fire. But I held on. I dug my claws into the ground and held him there. Riker didn't hesitate. With a roar of absolute fury, he lunged and tore Varn's throat out. The ancient Alpha fell, his body crumpling to the blood-soaked ground. The rebellion was over. The battlefield fell silent. Riker shifted back to his human form and fell to his knees beside me. His hands, gentle despite the violence, touched my wounded shoulder. "Naira!" he choked, his voice thick with tears. "Naira, no, stay with me, please." I shifted back too, the pain making it harder. I lay on the cold ground, my head in his lap, looking up at his beautiful, anguished face. The bond was quiet, but full. A lifetime of love in that single moment. "It's okay," I whispered, my voice weak. "We did it. You're safe." "No," he growled, pressing his hand to my wound, trying to stem the blood. "Don't you dare leave me. Not now, not after you finally found your wolf, not after you became everything I always knew you were." I smiled, a weak, bloody smile. "I was your sacrifice," I murmured, "but I got to be your salvation instead." He leaned down and pressed his forehead to mine. His tears fell on my face, warm and salty. "You are my life," he whispered, "my heart, my soul. Don't go. Oh, please, Naira, fight! Fight for me!" And I did. I fought with everything I had. I clung to the sound of his voice, to the warmth of his touch, to the unbreakable bond that tied us together. I don't know how long I drifted. I remember being carried, concerned faces, the desperate chanting of healers. And through it all, I never let go of Riker's hand. He never let go of mine. When I finally opened my eyes, the sun was streaming through the windows. Riker was asleep in a chair pulled up to the bedside, his head resting on the mattress next to my hip, his hands still wrapped around mine. Exhausted, haggard, years older, but there, always there. I lifted my free hand and gently stroked his hair. He woke instantly. his golden eyes snapping open, widening with disbelief and overwhelming joy. "Naira!" My name was a prayer on his lips. He leaned over me, cupping my face in his hands. "You're back. You're really back." "I'm back," I whispered. I told you I would fight." He kissed me then, a kiss so gentle, so full of relief and love, it brought fresh tears to my eyes. "The healers said your wolf healed you. Your lichen blood combined with mine through the bond saved you. You're gonna be fine." I looked down at my shoulder. Where Varn's bite had been, there was now a scar, a silvery white pattern that looked almost like a crescent moon. My first battle scar, a mark of survival. The weeks that followed were a time of healing. The rebel packs, seeing the truth of our bond and the power of my wolf, laid down their arms. They came to the fortress, begging the king's forgiveness. Riker was merciful. And me, I was no longer the wolfless abomination. I was the lichen queen who had found her wolf on the battlefield, the mate who had saved her king. The whispers that followed were not of fear and doubt, but of awe and respect. One evening, Riker and I stood on the balcony overlooking the valley. The scars of battle were fading. New life was sprouting on the mountainside. The kingdom was at peace. "Do you regret it?" he asked me quietly, his arm wrapped around my waist. "Leaving your old pack? All of this?" I leaned my head against his chest, listening to the steady, strong beat of his heart. My old pack saw me as a sacrifice, something to be used and thrown away. I looked up at him. "You saw me as a salvation. Something to be cherished and protected. There's no comparison." He smiled, pressing a kiss to my forehead. "You are my salvation, Naira. Every single day." This story isn't really about werewolves and kings. It's about the labels we let the world pin on us. For 22 years, Naira believed she was a defect because that's what she was told. She let the pack's opinion become her identity. She was their scapegoat, their sacrifice. But the truth was, she was never a sacrifice. She was a gift. She just needed someone to see her, truly see her, to help her see it herself. Riker didn't love her in spite of her perceived weakness. He loved her because of the strength it took to endure it. He saw the powerful wolf sleeping beneath the surface, waiting for a reason to wake up. Your worth is not determined by those who fail to see it. The Silver Moon Pack saw Naira and calculated her value based on what she lacked. Riker saw her and knew her value was inherent, immeasurable, and worth fighting an entire army for. He didn't try to change her. He just loved her fiercely and completely, and that love gave her the strength to change herself. Don't let anyone convince you that you are less than you are. Don't let the world's labels become your identity. You are not your failures. You are not your fears. You are not what you lack. You are a universe of untapped potential, waiting for the right spark, the right love, the right reason to finally, fully awaken. If this story touched your heart, if Naira's journey meant something to you, then please subscribe so you never miss another tale from the shadows. New stories drop every week that'll make you feel, make you think, and make you believe in the impossible. Like this story if you believe that everyone deserves a love that sees their true worth. Your likes tell me you want more content like this. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who needs to be reminded that they are so much more than they've been told. Tag them in the comments, send them the link, spread the word, comment below. What was your favourite moment? Did you cry when Nira found her wolf? Did your heart race during the claiming? I read every single comment and I want to hear from you. Until next time, keep your heart open to the moonlight. You never know what or who might be waiting for you in the dark. With love and shadows, your storyteller,